I am ready. Okay, so we got our new quest. Presidential alert. This is a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. No action is needed. Seriously? Seriously, man? Presidential alert? What the fuck? That sounds like some Big Brother kind of shit right there. So we completed the one quest with Captain John Bourbon. We got 150 Devil's Crossing reputation and 300 experience, which allowed us to gain a level. So first of all, let's take a look at our faction. So we're not exactly at friendly just yet, but we do actually have level 10 to select a new class. So I've thought about this long and hard about which one do I want to get. If you're really honestly going to go as a pet build and you're going to concentrate on pets, not meaning that like it's just going to be something that's completely secondary or that it's just like meant to, you know, be just an addition to your thing, like you're actually going to concentrate on doing the pets themselves, you really only have two other classes to choose from. You have the occultist and you have the shaman, and that's it. Now if you were going to like just use your pets as just kind of like an actual auxiliary add-on kind of thing, there are a couple of other classes here that I think kind of jive well with it to some extent, and I think the best one is probably Nightblade, because if I'm not mistaken, there was like some sort of ability there that played really nicely, you know, had you had pets. I think it might have been like an aura or something like that, but we're going to go with Occultist. I feel like personally that this is really what I want to do when it comes to pet builds. The Shaman is definitely one of them, but one of the guides that I was reading, that there was, you know, a guide on their build and their theory crafting and whatever, was basically stating that some of our pets, some of the pets that we're going to be summoning are shit because they don't last very long. They're meant to be glass cannons, specifically the skeletons, and because we're going to get a whole bunch of skeletons and they're all going to do incredible damage, but they're not going to be able to take a lot of hits, meaning we're going to have to resummon them a lot. So it made more sense to concentrate on their attack and their damage values rather than trying to buff them, you know, via their defense, their resistances, or their health. And I kind of agree with that. That totally makes sense to me. You do want to actually buff that stuff up a little bit. You don't want to completely ignore it. It's just you want to put an overwhelming concentration in the actual offensive aspects of it. So I feel like between a shaman and an occultist, I feel like the occultist is more of your DPS pet support, whereas the shaman is, I guess, more of a, a defensive sort of, or utilitarian. And I don't want to do that. I want to go occultist. So first of all, we're going to put in 1 into the mastery here, so we can get unlock our first things. There are going to be several skills here that are pretty awesome for us. So this is just an AoE skill. Like, some of this stuff is kind of worthless to us. I'm not going to go through every single skill here, like, in detail. So this is, like, these are just spells. Right? I'm not really looking for those. This is like a conversion. Burning your enemies with entropic energy with every weapon attack. Okay, so this is for, like, attacks. Harness the Eldritch power of... So, you know, what I'm curious about is that, like, if I did do this, you know, whether or not Reaping Strike is still a viable skill, or should I wait for one of the occultist skills? Because I knew the occultist actually had some, like, melee or attack-based, basically a replacement for your default attack. And this isn't so much as a replacement for it, it looks like. Or am I wrong? No, it reserves energy. It's just basically like a personal buff. But it bumps up all of your damage values and your attack speed too. So would this be better? Actually, you know what? This would jive really well with Reaping Strike. I could do both of them. And not only that, but then I would be able to do the chaos damage conversion if I really wanted to. And then you had second right. Oh man, that's so tough. I don't know what I want to do. Curse of Frailty is a curse. It's basically a curse. And then vulnerability just adds some other stuff to it. So those are definitely some skills we want. We obviously want the summon familiar, because it's another summon that we can have. Only one raven, maybe summon it only one time. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. And I think we are going to go for Curse of Frailty. Boy, that would be a really good combination, wouldn't it? Soleil's Witchfire. Soleil's Witchfire plus Reaping Strike. I mean, that would be like a little bit of a combo there, right? I mean, it would totally work with one another. It's totally viable. And I don't want to have to wait until like I'm like completely maxed out on both masteries to decide this. This is something that I need to pretty much focus on early enough to actually get the benefit out of it. I don't want to wait till late game to do it. I'm thinking I should. We're going to put one into Reaping Strike. And then we need to be, what, level 5 here? Alright, so we need to put 2 more mastery points in here. Wait, what? Is it automatically applied? Am I reading this wrong? Can activate... Oh, it may activate with all default weapon attacks. Interesting. Okay. That totally makes sense. Okay. And then my right skill, we're going to have that be Curse of Frailty. And then, of course, we want to summon our familiar. Okay. And I'm assuming I can only have the one, correct? Yeah, I think I can only have the one familiar. That's fine. Boy, I waste a lot of time in here just with some of the analysis portions of this. So where the hell were we even at? Where is this? Devil's Aquifer. Wasn't that down in the thingamabobber? I think it was. So I think we're just gonna have to backtrack some. Yeah, okay. So we actually weren't that far off. Burial Hill entrance. Alright, so that was the other side of it. So anyways, back to my story. My problem is I just bought a Switch. I was really hesitant to buy the Switch, but Octopath Traveler came out, and it definitely gave me those nostalgia feels. And you know, I'm not the type of person that likes to pre-order games. I don't get into all that pre-order bullshit. Sorry, video game industry, but you ruined it for me. So I waited until it was out, and people were giving it some pretty good reviews. I mean, it wasn't like people were gushing about it. It wasn't that good. But the reviews were pretty much the lowest I've seen was like a 7, I think. Most people gave it anywhere from like an 8 or a 9 in general. And I was like, hell yeah. It looks like a game that I totally would love playing. So I knew that even if I didn't buy a Switch now, I was still going to buy a copy of the game. So at least I knew that I had it available at some point. Kind of tempting me. As ridiculous as that sounds. Oh shit, I forgot I had the curse. But so I just said fuck it, and I bought a Switch. And then I bought the Wayfarer edition of Octopath Traveler. Okay, so real quick, this is what I'm talking about. So if I had my camera pointed this way, you might not see this. You could kind of sort of see it, but if you hover over it, there's nothing here. But if you see like the little like purple foggish looking stuff, you kind of tell. Well, if we just moved our camera around, it's totally a hidden cave entrance. So hell yeah, we definitely want to go in there. Yeah, we gotta keep this the curse going. Wow, lots of enemies. Holy shit, we gotta get out of there. See, when they start to swarm me like that, I think we're gonna have to come back. I'm a little disappointed in this game. I really wish they were like some like map pins or some other way to mark the map so that I know that this thing is here and I want to come back to it. I really hate the fact that there isn't something like that. I'm gonna have to check like Nexus mods and make sure that there isn't, you know, already a mod out there that's like that. I don't think there is. I don't remember seeing something like that when I was originally looking for mods. But there's got to be somebody else out there that has felt similar and actually created something. You know, I would actually go out there and create mods myself if I had, like, you know, the adequate programming experience. I know nothing about programming, so that's the reason why I don't. And it's much to my detriment, too, because there's a lot of fucking projects that I know, like a lot of quality of life shit that I would have loved to have created. And I definitely have the extra time to do it. You know, I wouldn't have, like, say, be doing, like, Let's Plays and stuff all the time. I'd be doing that instead. So, it looks like we got an untouched meal and something else over here. There. Oh, it's a boss. It's the star. And I see another icon over here. I just couldn't tell what it was. So I bought the Switch. I bought the limited edition version of Octopath Traveler, the Wayfarer edition, and I bought a brand new copy of the latest Fire Emblem game. Fire Emblem is one of those series that I've always really wanted to get into, that I always bought the copies of the games, but I never actually played any of the games. Like, I still have total and complete unplayed copies of, like, Fire Emblem on my old, like, Game Boy Advance that I really would have loved to play. But I bought a copy of that, hoping that I was going to do that. Okay, so we got some offensive gloves here. Much better boots. And then I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So I bought a copy of the Fire Emblem game because I've been kind of really in the mood to play a tactical RPG game, in addition to the ones that I'm already playing as our Let's Play series. And the problem is that I hooked up the Switch after I bought it, and I got that all set up, and I even bought like an online game, or, you know, a digital game, the Mercenaries Saga Chronicle Final Fantasy Tactics wannabe ripoff game. And I really want to play the Switch. I really want to play Octopath Traveler. My dilemma is that I'm a monogamist. I play one game. When it comes to like a really long RPG game, I can't cheat. I can't play multiple RPG games. I just can't do it. I just cannot get invested in multiple engrossing games like that. You know, you could make the case and say, well, if you got something like a really immersive game that really demands your attention, like, say, Deus Ex Human Revolution, versus, I don't know, something that was pretty, like, low on the attention span, like, say, like, I don't know, Final Fantasy V. You know, it didn't really require much. You could pretty much go in autopilot playing it. Like, I might be able to do something like that. But as it stands, I generally don't like to do it. I just like to pour all of my attention span and all of my commitment into one game. You know, one RPG game. One game that I know is going to take me a shit ton of time. And I do the same thing with books. I do read, okay? I read very slow, because I like I said in the past, because I like to really absorb everything that I'm reading, you know, consume it all. And, you know, I take my time, but I do enjoy reading a lot. And I try to be a voracious reader when I actually have the time to do it. And the problem is that, like, there's a lot of times where I'm in the mood to read a different book. Maybe I'm in the mood to read the next, like, Game of Thrones book, because I'm only on book 3 now, and I'm really like to start book 3, but I'm currently reading this cyberpunk novel, and I haven't finished it yet. Like, I can't pick up that Game of Thrones book because I know that it's going to take a lot of my motivation to read away from the original book that I was reading and that I haven't finished yet. And I feel like if I don't do that, for me personally, what'll end up happening is that first book will just be like a loose end that just never got solved. And I'll always it'll always be like this unchecked box in my mind, you know, this task that I just never finished. And it bothers the shit out of me because I'm fucking neurotic. And I can't cheat. So if I commit myself to reading a book, I have to finish reading that book. Unless of course, like, the game is, the book is, like, god-awful, or, you know, there's some sort of extenuating circumstance that I feel comfortable abandoning my campaign. Wait, what the fuck? Why is this not showing up? Did you see that? There was a piece of an armor that landed here, and it didn't show up as a piece of loot. It just disappeared. So was that just a really shitty animation, or did like my game bug out and I was supposed to get a piece of armor, but I didn't? So on that same tangent about being very monogamous about how I approach my consumption of whatever type of media that I currently am, I've been playing what I call I pronounce it Suikoden. There's been a lot of people I know in like Australia and New Zealand that call it Suikoden, and then I've heard some people call it Suikoden. And personally, I think it's actually pronounced Suikoden because the O in the Japanese language, their vowels are always long vowels. There's always like a really hard emphasis on them. So it'd be Suikoden, Koden, you know. So Suikoden, I've been a big fan of the series since the mid-90s, since the very first original game came out on PlayStation 1. Love it. It's been one of those like underrated underrated franchises. And I think it's gotten a little bit more popular as time went on because the original 2 games have become like massive collector's items, especially the second game. And I've been with it since day one. And I've watched and played through the various changes that Konami has made to the way the games are. And when they came out with Suikoden 5, I think it was in 2005 or 2006. I'll have to double check on the actual official release date of it, but I know it was like right around then, 2005, 2006. That was like right around the time that Konami started to take the piss. That's when Konami started to turn into a really shitty company, and they started to go downhill. And if you follow Jim Sterling's Jimquisition show, for a long enough period of time when he was still doing his Fuck Konami News segments and describing how Konami has turned into a really shitty company. Yeah, well, before there was any like hardcore criticism against Konami, there were people like me that were Konami like lovers and enthusiasts since, the early days, since the original 8-bit Nintendo. And seen and lived through the awful changes that went through the company and all of its franchises, especially Castlevania, might I add. Holy fuck, did those games suck starting in the 2000s. But the Suikoden games definitely suffered when it came to starting with 4, and then but especially in number 5. And I've made multiple attempts in the past to play the game, especially when it first came out. I made serious attempts to actually play through the entirety of it, just to say that I did it, and to finally complete the entire franchise of being played through and beaten. But I just couldn't do it. The game was just so bad, especially comparatively to the previous titles inside the canon. And you know what, like, I really feel guilty about it because I love the franchise. I love that IP, and I really wanted to finish it. I have them all. I have all of them, all the hard copies, right? And I even have the tactics game. I have all the strategy guides, all the official strategy guides, and everything else. I even have the DS game, Tierkeris. I think that's how it's pronounced, Tierkeris, which was also a fun game. The point is I really wanted to play Suikoden 5, finally, and get it done with. And this past, like, January, February, I was really in the mood to play the game. I really wanted to play a Suikoden game, and I figured Suikoden 5 would be the best one because I hadn't played through it yet. Then I'd give it an honest, good college try and just grit my teeth and fucking play through it, conquer it, just to say that I did it and experience it all. It was really between playing Suikoden 5 and there's like somebody's like pet project out there called Exit Fate, which is definitely like an indie game that's like you could definitely say it was like a rip-off of the Suikoden franchise that I really wanted to play it and actually do maybe a Let's Play series on. But I said ultimately that I really just wanted to play an official game, so I resulted in playing Suikoden 5. And I've been playing that game kind of on and off since that point. And I don't want to play Octopath Traveler right now and give up on my many, many hours of playing Suikoden 5. Because I know that the moment I actually do that, I'm going to get so far immersed in Octopath Traveler that I'm going to completely forget Suikoden 5, that I'm going to get sick of seeing it just like sitting there on my little entertainment center, having the strategy guide near me, or having a whole bunch of like Wikipedia, you know, wiki tabs pulled up on my my tablet, then I'm just gonna say fuck it, and I'm gonna get sick of seeing it. I'm gonna put it away, and then I'm never gonna play it again, and then that save file is gonna go to shit because, you know, everybody out there that has been playing video games for a long time should know this by now, that there's always going to be that point in time where you get so far into a campaign that if you just put it down and you don't pick it back up for, like, let's say a number of years, that you're pretty much going to completely forget where the hell you left off, and you're not going to know where you're at in the story, and you're basically going to have to delete that story file or that save file and start over from scratch. I don't want to do that again, because I realize that these games are getting really old. And chances are, like, I'm not going to pick this game up and say arbitrarily 15 years from now and say, yeah, I want to play Suikoden 5 just randomly out of the blue. No, it's not going to work like that. So I really just want to play the game and beat it and get it done with. And I can't cheat. Big rule of mine. I just can't do it. But goddamn, I want to play Octopath Traveler so bad. These are the dilemmas I face. Okay, so here we go. Here's another secret cave up here, all the way up the top. And you know what? God damn it. I completely forgot where that other secret cave entrance was. The one where it was just like, we were getting bombarded by too many enemies. Remember that? Shit, I don't remember where that was. I straight up don't. I think it might have been here, if I had to put my money on it. We have gained a couple of levels. We could probably go back in there and slaughter everything. I'm pretty sure that these dungeons are 100% optional, and they don't actually contain any shrines or anything like quest related in them. I think they're just pretty much, like, for instance, Jasper down here is part of the roving guilds or roving clans, and if you complete his quest or whatever he wants, he'll give you rich reputation points for it. So it's kind of an excuse just to come in here and kill a whole bunch of monsters. And get gear, which is, you know, reason enough for me. I'm just saying that, like, you know, we don't have to come down in here if we didn't really want to. We got a better belt. We got another offhand here. Some nice CDR, cooldown reduction. I am going to try to abbreviate a lot of these words and concepts and whatnot. Okay, those are much worse. Shoulder armor. Let's go ahead and talk to Mr. Jasper here. Please, stay your weapons, stranger. We're no outlaws. We were captured and put to work here in the mine. I hope you're here to set us free. Why is that a question? You're slaves here? So it would seem, and nothing is worse to a rover than being confined. We're part of a rover band that set up camp in a secluded part of Whitemire, hoping to avoid trouble, but trouble found us anyway. They captured 4 of us, but young Larkin and 2 other men who were here already died from overwork. They just left their bodies down here with us. Rovers follow the path of peace, but I can't help thinking the world is a better place since you sent those outlaws to meet their judgment. I can get you to Devil's Crossing using a rift gate. A rift gate? Curious. I thank you for your kind offer, but we should return to our people out in the swamps. That is our path. Well, very well to you there. We will spread the word of your deed should you ever find yourself in the company of the rovers. You will always find a place beside our fire. Okay, so we get 500 experience and 250 rover reputation points. So if you take a look at our factions, we now actually have points with the rovers. Some of these other groups here, the ethereals are obviously the bad guys. I don't really... They always are going to hate us. Oh, okay. So the ethereals are obviously our bad guys, right? And this is like their hate meter. Alrighty. You know, I always wondered why they put them in the factions list, because I'm like, well... Is there ever a chance where we could, like, you know, ally them? Doesn't look like it. Same thing with the beasts, the Cathanians, or is it Chathanians? And I think that's isn't that a direct ripoff from Diablo 2, or an homage, a tipping of the hat? Because wasn't there Chains of Chthon or Chthon, the boots, the unique boots in Diablo 2? I think that's what that's basically based on. And Crowleys, it should be Crowleys or Crowleys, as in Aleister Crowley. Yeah, Daddy knows. Daddy knows what's up. Now let's rotate our camera here. Looks like we got an untouched meal. Send up our people up in there. Gotta try to keep up that my whatchamacallit, my curse. That's gonna really up our damage output. As a matter of fact, what does it do? It reduces their movement speed, their physical resistance, and their bleeding resistance. See, the problem that I have with Curse of Frailty is that a lot of our damaging sources, a lot of just our personal attacks, and I think a lot of the damage from like our skeletons and stuff are vitality damage. Physical damage, vitality damage. Blight Fiends are... So they have their basic attack, which is physical and poison damage. And then they have Virulent Death, which is like their AoE skill. Okay, so they're physical and poison. The familiars are basic pet attack damage, whatever that means, and lightning damage. Okay, but I know like a lot of our skills for the Necromancer is vitality damage. That's vitality damage. Aether damage. We do get Reap Spirit. That does cold damage and vitality damage. So the point I'm trying to make, though, is that this curse is good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, any kind of debuff on an enemy is going to work out to our benefit. But I'm saying that it doesn't directly, like, really gel with our skills. Because if it did... I mean, the physical resistance, that's just a universal. But the bleeding resistance, we're like, you know, it's not really that useful. If it was vitality resistance, then, you know, we could say something. Probably shouldn't have touched the whatchamacallit, the food, the untouched meal. Because we gotta save that until we actually really needed it. Which is what I've been trying to do. Okay, this is much better armor. And then, let's... read the note. 250 experience, by the way. Pretty not too shabby there. Got a whole bunch of components like just finished. Okay. Oh, you know something completely forgot about? We have another devotion point. We have 2 devotion points. Duh. So we're gonna get this, which is going to unlock all of the Ascendant. So, like I said, I was going to go Shepherd's Crook first, I think. Now, again, I don't really know what I'm doing here, because this is my, you know, I'm still kind of... I'm not, like, new to the game, right? But I'm not, like, really all that well-versed. So, as far as, like, doing Tier 1 constellations, or Tier 1 devotions, I know that some of them do, some people do them to like fill out specific like attribute deficiencies that they might have. Like maybe they need more health or more defense or more resistances or something else. So they might go to like one of these tier 1 things. And I'm not sure which ones are the most beneficial. It's going to take me some time to actually really absorb some of these constellations. I'm going to have to use Grim Tools a few times to really, I think, ingrain myself with the specific route I want to go. Because I don't want to go through every single one of these things in an analysis context with you guys here live streaming. I feel like that would be good if it was like its own video, so that way if you really wanted to participate in it or you really wanted to see it, you could just see that. So we're going to start off with this. It's going to give us 40 health, and it's going to give us 8% health bonus to all of our pets. So we'll do it to it. There we go.